And this meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. The advisory committee is having this meeting recorded. Is there anyone else who is at the meeting who is recording it? If so, please advise me at this point.
I don't see any raised hands, Bob.
Okay, well, then we will we'll go to the next order of business, which is preparation for the special town meeting. Looks like we've got a good weather report, mid-50s and little chance of rain. We're on track for noon time at the town's multi-purpose field. The procedures will be pretty much the same without all the means to address the heat that we had in June. And we have a single article town meeting. I believe at this point that the order of presentations will be Nancy basically providing a detailed overview of the article itself, followed by myself providing a mini financial report to the town, followed by Selectman Joe Fisher, and followed by Bob Garrity, the chair of the building committee. I think those are the only speakers at this point in time that are lined up. I think at that point, the meeting would probably be opened up to the citizenry for comments, if any. There is going to be a moderators meeting this Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, which I have posted for the advisory committee. It's an optional meeting, but whoever wants to attend is more than welcome. And we may have a better idea of the order of the special town meeting at that point in time. Congratulations to Nancy McDonald. Thursday will be a happy birthday for Nancy and her triplets. And she will be at a happy birthday dinner for those triplets while the moderators meeting's going on. So we can keep Nancy posted on what happens. I have shared with everybody what was my second and third iterations of comments on your behalf to the special town meeting. I've had to cut them down, and I know I received additional comments and suggestions from Victor that I haven't had a chance to process as yet, but they are almost always wise and should be accepted. So there may be a fourth iteration. The 6-minute time limit, I will tell you, is brutal. There are so many things that I originally added that I would have liked to have added, and the time just is not sufficient to put everything in there. So as I am expressing those comments on behalf of all of you, I thought it was only fair to give you all free rein to jump in with your comments, criticism, applause. and happy to listen.
Bob, I just wanted to jump in and offer that, I don't know, I mean, I know you want to keep it succinct in 6 minutes, but if you need to add anything that really you think should be in the 6 minutes, we could add another advisory committee member to add something. That's, that's possible. So just want to throw that in there.
Sounds like Julie might want to speak.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think the financial report may be dry enough as it is that I'm basically hoping to communicate the beginning and end of it, that we are in a sound financial position. The purchase of this piece of land is not going to interfere with the town's ability to fund anticipated capital projects. And I throw it out to all of you whether to specifically mention the Foster School or not. I erred on the side of just keeping it as anticipated capital projects at this point. But I'm happy to listen to comments that might more directly address the Foster School. Yes, Nancy. You need to unmute. Yep.
I would like to offer that I think it would be wise to, since these are both building projects in town, I think it's wise and appropriate to speak to both of them, and that that they have both been, that they are both on the radar of the Board of Selectmen and the town administration and the advisory committee. And that this article was done in that, was written in the context of the bigger picture. So that's my 2 cents.
I think you're probably right.
I agree.
The discussion in the written comment in the warrant sort of specifically mentions Foster as well as other town projects. I mean, in a way, you don't want to. I mean, I guess there's no downside in mentioning Foster, but at the point you're speaking, no one else has mentioned Foster. Right? So mentioning it, but I don't know that I dwell on it.
Well, I wouldn't dwell on it. I think I'd only include it in the last part of the comments. And maybe such as the plan for an anticipated Foster School or new Foster School and the potential public safety facility. I think I'd put it somewhere along those lines.
Or what about even more generally of saying that this does not preclude an acknowledgement of several other capital projects under consideration, and that this action at this time does not preclude any of those options, including Foster School.
Well, the last sentence does say that, though.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not sure you would, I think that sentence says it all. I wouldn't necessarily bring up Foster as a separate entity.
I think it's so on everyone's mind that it'd be worth hearing, that we're aware of it.
I agree.
I think it's almost disrespectful to not preemptively mention it.
And I don't want to get too general because, of course, earlier this year, we heard that presentation on the millions of dollars that people might like for fields projects. And so I do want to be careful a little bit about overpromising.
Well, you could add to that last sentence in, various capital projects, substantial capital projects in the future, including Foster School.
And
Leave
a
it at that.
potential public safety facility.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just capital projects that people seem to be concerned about. I think it would be good if there is any way to speak to, or other, things we need to do with our operating budgets.
Well, I think you're right, Evan, that other people are concerned about, I mean, we certainly heard that. We've heard it for, much of last year and the year before. It's not just capital, it's operating.
Correct.
But I mean, however, what Bob is speaking to here in terms of, in terms of this purchase is a capital project. I guess it doesn't hurt to throw in an operating budget, but that's sort of opening up a whole additional discussion with his 6 minutes is, I don't know that you can really accomplish much.
Yeah.
Dave
I think we could try to limit it to capital. I'm just saying that not necessarily, I mean, as regards to Bob's comments, maybe, but I do think that, it's broader than just capital projects. And I'm sure we'll hear that from various citizens on Saturday.
Let me come back to that point, Evan, but Dave Elaine had a comment.
Well, I was just going to say, I think because the Foster project is on people's minds, that it would be good to just say this does not affect the Foster school. I mean, I don't think we have to say more than that. I don't think we have to say operating. I don't even, but I think to specifically say purchasing this property will not affect the Foster school project is sufficient. But I think saying it is important because it's what everybody keeps talking about. So to not say anything about it seems like we're trying to not mention it. So, but I think that's at best a sentence or half a sentence. I mean, it could be including the Foster school project, but I think to just lay that out there would be important.
I'd agree. And
I think people are confused enough about the difference between operating and capital that I wouldn't say anything about operating funds. There might be an opportunity or a need to do that later, but I wouldn't do that at the beginning.
I just want to make an observation based on some of the discussions that the forecast group has had and that have gone on before the Board of Selectmen, that the operating budget really comes from a separate funding stream from one-time capital projects that are typically funded with 20-year bonds that are excluded debt. The operating budget, to the extent that it needs to be increased, is a separate issue and may involve an override.
Mm-hmm.
And an override is essentially a forever tax increase that is going to permit operations at a certain level. And it's a distinct funding source from a one-time capital project funding. And I don't think we want to get into anything to do with operating budgets. We don't know what they are this year. They haven't been formulated yet. We haven't had our hearings. It's obviously on people's minds, but we're just not in a position to address them.
Dave Anderson has his hand up.
Dave?
Oh, hi, Bob. I was just curious, and forgive me because I don't have this wordsmithed out, but I'm thinking that maybe it makes sense to say something almost in the converse, which would be something along the lines of not approving this doesn't improve the chances of funding the other projects. In other words, just from the AdCom's perspective, I don't want to speak for all of us, but it's certainly my perspective that if there was somehow a perception that rejecting this article would improve the chances of Foster, that I think is unfounded. And it might be a way to before it happens, to kind of disarm arguments, if any were to be made, that other projects stand a better chance if this goes down. Just a thought.
I think Nancy's comments kind of cover that, because she is basically going to be indicating that we're buying an asset that makes certain things possible. And if the town decides not to use that asset, it can simply be sold. So.
No, I agree with that point too, 100%. I guess I'm just making the point of trying to be express about the fact that not doing this doesn't gain any ground.
I actually think, Bob, the way you said it, and I do think there's a lot of people who are passionate and care deeply on both sides of this, but I don't know that people truly understand the concept of included and excluded debt as it relates to capital projects versus an operating budget. And I
Well,
think
some of the things that I would have liked to have put into a longer than 6-minute comment would include explanations of some of those, but there just isn't the time. Alan, did you have something you wanted to offer?
I'm sorry, I just had a quick question that was sort of related to tree. Do we anticipate selling the North Station property? Is that offsetting revenue?
The answer is, as given at prior public meetings, would be yes. And that the value assigned to the North Fire Station is roughly $1 million.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Andy?
In the paragraph on savings, first sentence says, our savings account is referred to as account balance, available funds or available reserves, and more colloquially as our rainy day fund. At the end of fiscal year 2019, unassigned fund balance. It seems to me you're introducing a new and different term from what you have previously said is our savings account.
My earlier drafts went into total fund balance, which gets into all of that business of restricted fund balance and encumbered. And I think there's 3 other things that Sue knows better than I do. And it was introducing too many extraneous comments. Actually, I think Victor suggested to me that I go right to unassigned fund balance.
I'm just suggesting, I guess, that
Yeah, Andy's,
instead of rainy day fund, I would say, in more commonly known as fund balance.
right. Yeah, that would tie it into your next sentence, which is Andy's point.
I actually meant to say fund balance rather than account balance. I don't know how that account should read fund. I don't know how that got in there. Thinking about too many things at once.
So you're going to say referred to as fund balance?
Fund balance, available funds or available reserves, and more colloquially as our rainy day.
That solves my problem.
Okay, good, thank you. Anybody else? Any other,
I don't, okay.
any other questions or concerns about the special town meeting?
The question I had, and I don't want to be premature because it doesn't relate to your statement, but somebody's going to ask, with a need for lots of things, an increased school budget, and a need to build a new Foster school, why are we buying a piece of property at a price significantly above the appraised value and talking about building another building? In other words, the people who are interested in the school are going to want to know Dave's point that this decision to acquire this land does not adversely impact or improve, I should say, improve the likelihood of an increased school operating budget or advancement on the Foster School project. And when that question is asked, who's going to address those?
I expect that that question is being answered both in Nancy's comments and in Joe Fisher's comments.
Good. Yes.
Nancy?
And I'm sorry, but it wasn't in the past town meetings and my prepared remarks, we've never discussed them as a meeting. So, so I apologize that I didn't pass these out. But I actually do not mention Foster in my comments. Because it was my understanding that I was gonna kind of set the table as to why you were gonna talk about how, and then as we went down the line, there were gonna be others that spoke to that. I can certainly work it in if it's more appropriate to address it up front, because I believe, that I think it's important to lay out as part of this, that this doing or not doing, approving or not approving this article does not make Foster happen bigger, better, faster.
Well, maybe you should check in with Joe Fisher, Nancy, and
He and I
determine,
talked today. Yeah.
and determine between the two of you how you'd like to address that concept that Andy raises.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other concerns about the special town meeting or subjects that are likely to come up? I will say that I believe that citizen statement that I circulated to everybody is likely to be read in some form at the special town meeting. And I think it may depend on developments at the town meeting as to whether there needs to be a response to it. But I do think the response is probably going to come down to what I said a moment earlier about the different funding sources for the operating budgets as opposed to long-term capital projects.
Well, this petition that you circulated is directed at the building, right? It's not directed at the property purchase.
Correct. The
We
statement
support
actually,
purchase, right?
the
Says we
statement
support-
actually supports the purchase,
Right,
and it anticipates this as being an issue at a future town meeting.
right. But I guess since we have not discussed where we as a committee, I mean, we don't even know what's being presented. As it was said earlier, we don't have, I guess you said, we haven't done any budgets yet. So
Right.
it's a little tough for our committee to take a position. It would be appropriate for the selectmen to do that, but I don't know that we have a response to this as a committee. Again, it depends, I suppose, how it comes up and what specifically is being responded to.
I think the only response we could give is conceivably a conceptual one. As a matter of municipal finance, operating budgets come from these sources. And long-term capital projects typically come from long-term bond issuances for excluded debt. So, and I don't know that I have anything else to mention about the special town meeting. I suppose, with respect to any annual town meeting, and we don't have that many special town meetings, we have in the past scheduled an AdCom meeting on the same day or night as the annual meeting in the event that people felt that there was anything to discuss on the day of the meeting. I mean, if we were to do that, we'd have to do it at, say, 10 a.m. on Saturday, and to allow people time to get to the field. Do people want me to post a meeting for 10 a.m. on Saturday? I'm not seeing the need for it right now, but I suppose it can't hurt.
And if we didn't have one, does it matter?
If nobody shows up and we don't have a quorum and nobody sees a reason for it, then we just say we didn't have a quorum, we didn't have a meeting. And Julie, did you want to say something about that? Oh, I see a hand. I don't know where that came from. Maybe that was me. Okay, why don't I'll give that some thought. I'll probably post a meeting for Saturday at 10, just so we have the option if we want to do, to get together at that time. And we'll go from there. So, Daveline.
So will you let us know if we need to gather at 10? I mean, I'm just thinking we won't, otherwise, unless we all gather at 10 for a meeting, we won't know that we need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can just say that, send out an email on Friday after the moderators meeting. I think I'd have a better idea of whether there's anything to discuss on Saturday. And say, I don't think the meeting is necessary. Let's cancel it.
Okay.
All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. All right, good. That's the plan then. So we will continue to wend our way through the agenda. I put down as next potential warrant articles, just so we kind of kept our eyes on the horizon as to what is coming down the pike. The ones that I'm presently aware of, I understand that the Energy Action Committee is likely to have a proposed warrant article. I don't know the details yet. Brenda, you're involved with that, aren't you?
I don't think it's going to be coming from the Energy Action Committee. I think it's going to be coming from the Climate Action Task Force.
Okay, all right.
They are meeting tonight, which is the other competing meeting, getting input from town residents about what should be in a climate action plan for the town. But yeah, they are, I believe, putting together a plan to basically a plan to make a plan. So to get a little bit of funding to set up a planning process for the town.
Okay, I understand there's going to be an article to basically make the language in the town bylaws gender neutral, so that we will be having, I suppose, select people or persons, and that is going to be done. There's going to be an article, I think, to clean up the AdCom bylaw that John Coughlin has been tasked with. And right now, I'm not sure that I'm aware of anything else. Has anybody else heard of anything?
Well, I have one, but I can save it for the liaison report out of planning.
Okay, all right. And the next item I put on the agenda was the citizen statement, raise school funding, that I think we've kind of already talked about in connection with the special town meeting. Is there anything further to be said about that? Okay. Let me talk about the budget process and schedule. I'm sorry to report, and I'm sure everybody's going to be disappointed, that you are not going to get your budget books before Thanksgiving. And you are not likely to get your budget books until sometime in early December. And I don't believe the selectmen are going to be hearing budget articles until second or third week of December, Sue?
That's what Tom said. The budget message went out Friday. They're due this Friday. Then I get to put them all in Munis. Then we get all everything together and start copying. But yeah, once the budget books are in the selectmen's hand, they'll probably start hearings that next week.
And we would start our hearings after the selectmen begin their hearings. So the practical effect of this is it's going to create some compression for our budget schedule that might require us to be meeting Tuesday and Thursday nights earlier than we might otherwise need to do, just to keep up with all of the budgets.
Andy has his hand up.
I thought he was scratching his forehead.
No, he's got his hand up.
Oh, Andy?
Yeah, I apologize. I wanted to go back to the citizen statement for a minute. And I think that the citizen statement doesn't criticize the acquisition of the land in the sense that it recognizes this is an asset that the town can deal with. But what I thought was pretty significant was when Susan Murphy told us about her recent experience as a real estate lawyer regarding industrial parcels on the South Shore, and how they were selling at a premium. And maybe somebody who's going to be maybe answering questions might want to speak to her and get the numbers that she had, or ask her to be prepared to come up and repeat them again. But I thought it was significant that it answers the question of why we're paying significantly above the appraised value, but more importantly, that this is indeed a good deal for the town, because it probably is an asset that we're acquiring for less than we could sell it for. Somebody should be prepared on that, is I guess what I'm saying.
I think Susan will be prepared in that. And I know that the latest local Federal Reserve beige book, I think they call it, did cite data indicating that there were general rises in values of industrial properties while commercial properties were going down. So there does seem to be some good economic data to that effect that I expect would be available. So coming back to the budget process, we talked about at our weekly meeting that the town administrator is going to again ask department heads to provide the kind of PowerPoint that they have done in the past. It's useful data and a useful overview, but I think the town administrator is going to encourage department heads to make their overall presentation rather brief, perhaps 3 to 5 minutes tops, and in order to allow questions, I suppose initially from the Board of Selectmen and then later on by us, so we can focus on what may be the drivers of any increases or issues that are going to be presented by the individual department budgets. Hopefully this will streamline our discussion. Let us focus on the questions we really want to ask. And we don't want to not turn over the stones we need to turn over, but in the hopes that we can make the process more efficient. I think that's what the objective would be. Did you raise your hand again, Andy? Okay. And I think basically that is what I have for my knowledge of the budget process at this point. Did I leave anything out, Julie? No? Okay. Daveline?
Do we know, is Tom asking people for basically a level services budget? I know that's been the case the last couple of years. Do we know?
He is asking them for a level services budget. And he's also giving them some opportunity to mention what we have referred to as additional requests
Right.
in the past, with the idea that they really have to be, exceptional or emergency requests under the present economic conditions. So-
And do we have a sense as to when the Board of Selectmen would decide whether they might be looking for an override or an operational override or not?
Oh, I don't think it
Because
would be the
usually
board.
that's before we begin our budget discussion, isn't it?
I don't think the Board of Selectmen would be the instigating party in requesting an operational override.
Oh,
I think it would come from a department or departments. I know at the quarterly forecast meeting the other day that the school superintendent was indicating that, and certain members of the school committee were indicating that they kind of wanted to get together an overall strategic plan or master plan, if you will, for where the Hingham schools would be going. And that to the extent that there was to be some form of a request for an operational override in the future, that it should be done in the context of what that master plan or strategic plan was. So, who knows what's going to happen in the spring?
Right.
Something could happen this year, or it could be a year later. We'll just have to wait and see.
Bob, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Just thank you, Daveline, for opening that one up. I guess I wanted to understand, because in the 3.5 years I've been doing this, it's always been level services, level funding. And I've never heard of an operational override for a budget, only for the, I think, middle school or East School, kind of when I was almost paying attention back some number of years ago. But is that generally how it happens? It comes out of one department, and there's no citizen input or Board of Selectmen input to whether or not you plan for some sort of adjustment via an operational override for a budget?
Well, the last operational override actually occurred in 2009, at the time of the last big economic downturn. And it passed. And I went back and I looked at the warrant for 2009. And at the end of, I believe it was at the end of Article 6, there were amounts that were listed that were stated would be added to, it was either 2 or 3 different budgets, depending on the results of the ballot question, the actual election. So I was not involved with the procedure at that time. From what I could glean from the warrant in 2009, I expect that something along those lines would probably be the way it would be done.
Okay.
That amounts would be identified by specific departments that would be added to their budgets in the event that the ballot vote said that the taxpayers wanted to pay for them.
But presumably the selectmen have to, at least on the municipal side, I mean, if any department, conservation said we want more money, that's not going to go for an override unless the selectmen authorize it, right? I mean, I would.
Well, that was my reason for the question. I remember being at a Board of Selectmen meeting last year at some point during the budget process, and the discussion of the question came up from the public as to why they were not asking for an override. And the answer, as I recall, although I could be mistaken, was they had decided not to ask for an override, that it was not appropriate at this time. And that's what led me to believe it was the Board of Selectmen who made that decision. So
I started to, when this looked like it might come up last year, I did have some conversation with John, email exchange with John Coughlin. He sent me some treatise materials on how overrides are brought about. And frankly, I never really had to delve into it last year, and I have forgotten, although I'm sure I still have the materials. I believe there is an opportunity for citizens to propose it, but if they propose it, they have to also be able to identify, no, I'll take that back, because it wouldn't apply in an override. There is a process where a citizen can do it, but it didn't seem like it was easy. But I can dig out the stuff at Daveline and get back to you if you're interested.
yeah, I mean, I just was more interested because it would affect what we were doing if we knew there would be
Right.
more money. But I'm satisfied with the answer I have at this point.
The Board of Selectmen would have to approve whatever goes into the warrant.
Right.
And I think, Victor, what you were talking about was if somebody at a town meeting said, made a motion to amend Article 6 to add a certain amount of money to a certain budget, the person making that amendment would need to identify a funding source, i.e. somebody else's budget, that you would take the money away from to be able to do that by motion at a town meeting. Let me report back to you on the process. I'll get some more information as to exactly what would happen, and I will let you know at our next meeting.
The prior operational override, and I don't know if it was the 2009 one, but there was an override, I thought, in connection with East School, because when they opened the new school, they needed new money for staffing. And I think that there was a successful override at that point.
Yes, there was. That's 2009.
2000, okay.
Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. But
Yeah,
I
it was
think
$1.1 million.
Yeah, wasn't there another department involved too, Sue?
There are a few, yes. One
Yeah.
was group insurance.
Yeah, okay. And do you recall who proposed or who was the proponent of any override in the warrant?
That was when Ted was town accountant.
Okay,
I believe it was with the Board of Selectmen.
let me do my research and I'll report back to the committee. We have a number of liaison reports that we can start to go through. I thought we'd recess at 5 minutes of 8 so that we could join the Board of Selectmen. We may need to resume to finish up the liaison reports and do the minutes. But Julie, you wanted to give a report on the CPC?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So the CPC has a meeting tomorrow evening where the applicants will present their projects. And we're down to only 4 projects requesting funds for this year. And the revised estimate of funds available for allocation this year is $1.5 million, actually a little bit closer to 1.6 million. And the projects are coming from the Veteran Services along with Historical Commission for historical and military memorial restoration. The second one is for the Dock House Museum at Bear Cove Park. They want to do some renovations to that museum and also build a new pavilion beside it with bathrooms, and it'll be a gathering space. The third one is a study for the harbor development and committee and the Bathing Beach trustees to study ways to connect all the areas of the waterfront, keeping in mind environmental changes or or sea level rise, and also identify and manage activities that would happen along the waterfront. And then finally, funding for the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust Opportunity Fund. So those projects together, their ask is actually $1.4 million. So that's below what the CPC expects to have in hand. So, so we'll see.
You mean that's above what CPC will have?
Their total is lower than what CPC has, so they might choose to fund everything and have fund left over, or they could choose to pay down some of their debt, or we'll see.
So they have carryover funding from past years.
They did. They ended up having some carrying over. They had extra state match that was received after January 2020. So they had a little extra money from that. They had some left over from the general fund, and their revised estimate on the 1.5% tax revenue surcharge was a little bit higher. So they have more money than they thought they had at the beginning.
Other questions or comments on the CPC? Kristen, you wanted to give a report on the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust?
Sure. So just as Julie mentioned in the meeting, they talked about their application for the CPC funds. So they went over that a little bit. And then they went over just current properties that they have right now and then potential that they could be looking at. So the first one was 499 Cushing Street. They currently have a house there that someone is renting, but it's on 2 acres, and they're looking to possibly build something else on the back of that property, which could be another affordable housing. It's a narrow lot, so it would have to be behind the current lot there. But they were also approached by owners of the lot behind that, which is about 8 acres. It's not for sale right now, but the owners approached them to see if they would be interested in possibly purchasing that amount of land. So they were looking into it. Nothing has been, talked about with pricing or anything that yet. They were possibly going to go for a tour of that land this past weekend. I'm not sure if that happened or not. So just something that they're looking into now. Their other property was at 29 Road Circle, and it's a duplex that they purchased in 2019. And they're currently, there's invitations out for bids to renovate that property. They had a lot of people come look at it for possible renovations, but have yet to receive any bids from the contractors. They don't know why, if it's because it's a public bid process, which is a little bit different from other types of bidding processes. They were going to put it out there again to see if any bids came up with that. So right now there's nothing, no renovations happening there. Similar at 270 Central, currently work needs to be done there. They were going to talk to the building department to decide what actual renovations need to be done, and then that would also go out to a public bid process. And I know that there was also a previous meeting tonight about the Old Ship Church, which I did not attend, so I'm not really sure what that was about. I don't know if Dave Aline has any more information on that, but possible. So that's it.
Any questions or comments on Affordable Housing Trust? And Victor, you wanted to report on Planning Board?
Oh, sure. The Planning Board last night, so the deadline for zoning petitions is December 1st. A citizen, Ray Estes, is planning to file a citizen's petition, and he described it to the Planning Board last night. It's really to add detached structures as available for accessory dwelling units. So a couple of years ago, the town allowed accessory dwelling units within a building. So he would add, his petition would extend it to detached structures. Hasn't drafted it yet. His thoughts seem to be that it would be similar restrictions as the current bylaw, that the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit, could only be used for family members or caretakers. Then the planning board staff is probably going to present at the end of this month, just in time for the deadline, to the planning board a proposal to adopt a limited site plan review process that would allow staff to approve certain minor changes to site plans. That was brought up last year and determined to be beyond the scope of whatever articles there were at the time. So it may be a light year on zoning.
We just
Everyone's
saw a light
favorite
year of
subject.
zoning in 2020.
Any comments or questions for Victor? I put schools and energy action down just because they've kind of been, I knew energy action was going to maybe be involved with a warrant article, but we heard about that earlier. And schools has been on everybody's mind. I didn't know whether Dave or anyone else from ACES wanted to make any comment.
I'll give it a quick comment and then certainly welcome other input from the other committee members. We do have a schedule of budget hearings and workshops, which I can share with AdCom, and anybody who wants to attend can certainly do so. I think I'd also, rather than paraphrase it, I might just read for you the preamble of what are referred to as the guiding principles for the development of the fiscal 22 school committee budget, which was disseminated at the school committee meeting last night. So the preamble reads as follows: due to COVID-19 and the lack of visibility for FY22, the FY 2022 budget process will be truncated, and a proposed budget will be developed based on the needs identified for the FY21 budget, with several key initiatives added that the administration believes are essential for meeting the needs of our students and school community in FY22 and going forward. With the basic premise that Hingham will maintain its focus on providing the highest quality education for all Hingham students, the following parameters and presumptions will be used in the development of the FY22 budget. A, the budget will presume a continuation of enrollment from the March 1, 2020 enrollment counts. B, the budget will presume a continuation of all FTEs approved in the FY 2021 budget. C, all personnel salaries will be stepped up according to terms specified in the appropriate collective bargaining agreements or individual contracts. And D, where collective bargaining agreements have yet been completed as the budget process begins, an allowance will be provided for 2 years. Then goes on to highlight a couple points that the adopted budgets will include. And I can share this entire one-page document with everyone for your own understanding. So obviously, you know, as usual, a big project in front of the school committee and us and the administration, which is underway and trying to, big project under normal circumstances, bigger project this year.
Any brief questions or comments, as we're just about 5 minutes of, we are at 5 minutes of 8. So I propose that we recess at this point, and I think when we come back, we'll basically just have minutes and housekeeping. So, and Sue is basically putting the meeting on pause so that everybody can come back to the same meeting that we're in now. So, see you all at the Board of Selectmen in 5 minutes.
Hi, Sue. We meet again.
The meeting of the advisory committee. And I suppose when we recessed, we had just heard from Dave on school liaison report, and we've now heard, a long financial presentation. Are there comments or questions on either? Any other liaison reports? Well, then we come to the highlight of the evening, the approval of minutes. And I think we've got October 3rd as the initial set of minutes. George, any further updates? I think everybody's had a chance to weigh in on them.
No, I don't have any further updates for the 3rd.
Any questions or comments on the minutes from October 3rd? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 3rd? Thank you, Dave. And is that seconded?
Second,
And Sue, have you unmuted everybody? Yep, okay, so.
Except me. Not everybody everybody's unvoted.
Dave,
Aye.
Nancy,
aye.
Evan,
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Julie?
Al was not there.
Oh, sorry.
oh. Thank you, George. Julie,
Aye.
George,
I
Libby?
I
was
was
not
not at
there.
that meeting.
Libby's not there, okay.
Wait, what night was this? What are we, I'm
Third.
sorry.
October 3rd.
Okay.
Brenda,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Daveline,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
Andy? Andy,
Aye.
Dana,
Tina was
Dana?
not there.
Oh, aye.
oh,
Ti-
Dana was not there, okay. And Aaron?
Aye.
Okay, so is that 11:03?
That's it.
Okay, and then we have the minutes of October 6th.
Yes.
And again, I think everybody's had a chance to see these. Any updates, George?
Yeah, I finally got pickleball spelled correctly. I was really in a pickle, so to speak.
I was there on election day, by the way.
Yeah,
Well, the AdCom takes pride in its spelling.
I know it. I thought I had checked that, but I'm glad you caught me on that one. And there's one other change to Lynchfield, deleted lease. So talking about field scheduling, permitting, and maintenance are handled by different entities, quoting Brent Recreation Department, schools, close paren. And Lynchfield has its own unique restrictions. So that's the only change.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 6th?
Yes.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded?
Seconded.
Okay, and we'll take a roll call vote. Dave?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Evan?
Aye.
Al?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
George?
Libby
Libby?
Abstain,
was
I
not there.
Okay, Brenda?
Aye.
Kristen? Daveline?
Aye.
Victor?
Abstain.
Victor was not there.
Okay. Andy?
Aye.
Tina?
Tina was not there.
And Aaron?
Aaron was
Aye.
not there.
Oh, oops, sorry.
Okay, so that's 10:04. Did we lose anybody? 1, 2.
According to the minutes, there were 6 people not present, so.
So, yeah, so Evan was not, did
I'm
Evan vote,
sorry.
vote
I
present?
take back my eye.
All right, so,
So everyone was there, voted except myself
yeah,
in favor of the minutes,
right.
which brings us to the minutes of October 20th. Any updates on those, George?
Yeah, I think I got them out. I had Evan and Dave as absent. They were in fact present. And a minor change, I had Libby as Elizabeth and she is Libby. So I've changed Libby, Elizabeth to Libby. So the only changes are in the people in attendance.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 20th?
Yes, you have one. So moved.
Second.
Dave.
Okay.
Second.
Dave?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Evan?
Aye.
Wait your turn. Alan?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Daveline?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
And Libby, formerly known as Elizabeth.
I'm not in trouble, am I? You're calling me Elizabeth. Aye.
I have a daughter named Elizabeth. We thought it was a regal name. So that'll bring us to the minutes of October 21st. Any updates on that, George?
Same name updates, Dave, Evan, and Libby. But that was it.
Is there a motion to approve?
We were all present that day.
Regrettably.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Dave?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Evan?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Daveline?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
And Libby?
Aye.
Okay, and that brings us to the last. We're flying through these. So that October, what did we do? October 26th?
26th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same name adjustments. So, but nothing else.
Okay, is there a motion to approve or any further comments or questions?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Dave? So, Nancy?
Aye.
Evan?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Daveline?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
And Libby?
Aye.
That was less painful than I thought it was going to be. Aren't you glad you didn't have to do this last year, Victor?
Yes.
Okay, housekeeping, scheduling the next meeting. We've kind of talked about this. We talked about the budget process. I'll post a meeting for Saturday morning in the event that we need it, but we'll probably cancel it on Friday. I have talked with Mary Power about coming to see us to discuss her earlier presentation on capital investments in Hingham. And I thought we might also couple that with a revenue discussion. And we probably can fit that in sometime after Thanksgiving and before we get our budget books. And I don't know that there are any other housekeeping matters at this point. Unless we want to ask the party planners how the party's coming. Yes, Brenda.
You referenced earlier that Tuesday and Thursday meetings are going to start sooner. When is sooner? As a new person.
Well, I think in past years, just going on memory, we were still only meeting once a week in December. And once we got into January and February, we would need to go to 2 meetings a week just in order to get through the mass of the budget presentations and perhaps start in on warrant articles. So it's going to be very much dependent on when the Board of Selectmen starts to begin their budget hearings, because our budget hearings will follow their schedule. So once they begin budget hearings, I will try to determine at our weekly meeting, when that is going to be and how many budgets they're going to try to go through in December. If we can get through those budgets in one night, I'm sure everybody would prefer to do that. So I don't have a definite date for you at this point. Probably not before at least the 3rd week in December, and then we're bumping right up to the holidays. So if we have 1 week in December where maybe we have 2 meetings to just kind of get a jump on things, I think right now that's probably what we're looking at for December, but January could be a busy month.
Thank you.
And the meeting with Mary Power may conceivably need to be on a different night from a Tuesday, depending on her schedule.
Bob, Libby has her hand raised.
Libby,
Oh, Bob, I was just gonna say, typically, I just know from the capital schedule that AdCom doesn't usually go to 2 nights until the beginning of February. I mean, that's how it's been the last few years, so.
Yeah, don't push your luck, Bob.
well, it could be a senior moment at a late night, a late time.
If that helps any of the newbies, you know?
We won't go to 2 meetings a week unless we have to, until we have to. I mean, I am all in favor of keeping it to 1 night a week, provided we can do the work and get through our business.
Thank you.
But thank you for reminding me, Libby.
Sure. And would you like a motion?
I would, but Julie, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I'm going to echo what Libby said. I looked in my calendar after you were speaking, Bob, and it was definitely each year, in normal year, it would be two nights a week in February, not in January, but
I misremembered.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, I'd love a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute. Is there a second?
Yes,
Either
I
one.
seconded.
Dave,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Evan,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye.
Julie,
aye.
George,
Aye.
Brenda,
Aye.
Eveline,
Aye.
Victor,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Tina, Tina,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
and Libby.
Aye.